If you go to a networking group expecting to sell something or trying to sell something, you will never sell. If you go to networking groups and try to build relationships, sales will flow. A lot of the people who come to me to do the program, a lot but not all, are people who are on job seeker program. Firstly, when people look at starting a business, they think, I'm a good X practitioner. For example, I know you're a real estate agent, right, Suraj?
Yeah.
So you might think, I've been really good at individually selling. Most people don't ever think about a risk plan. My father, who was successful as a farmer, starting with leasing his first property.
Welcome to the Pioneer Pod. I'm your host, Suraj Chilwal. In this episode, we are speaking with Ashley Hassell. He is a president of Armadale Chamber of Commerce, and he is also a licensee of Superior Business Network, and he is a business mentor and coach as well. He's a really renowned people on the Armadale community and Southern River with his involvement with the Rotary Club and so many organizations. This conversation is going to be really helpful and insightful for the people who wants to start their business or want to start their business and mentorship. Let's welcome him to the show. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me today, Suraj.
What you are working on these days?
Well, currently I'm a business coach and mentor. It's a path that I've been working towards for several years. I work in a paid position as a coach and mentor, and I'm building a client base of my own with coaching and mentoring clients. And you said to me you'd like me to tell you how I got here.
Yeah.
Look, long story short, I'm the son of farmers. So I grew up in small business. Wow. And I also grew up around my parents being heavily involved in the community. My father was a road board member, and later when road boards turned into shire councils, he became a shire councillor, and was involved in sporting clubs. My mother was involved in the scouting movement, and these things were very formative for me. So I've always felt like I've wanted to be in the community and in amongst growing and building things. And I chose not to be a farmer. I got myself a hospitality management and tourism management degree. I worked in the hospitality industry until my early 30s. Changed over to accounting. Worked as an auditor for about 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Moved into commerce, managed the finance for not-for-profits.
Wow.
I've had a career in the Army Reserve, in the Royal Australian Army Pay Corps, and more latterly in the last 6 or 7 years, I have been working in the employment services industry, first as an employability skills trainer and as a mainstream employment consultant, and then the opportunity came up 2.5 years ago to work for the Self-Employment Assistance Program, which used to be called New Enterprise Incentive Scheme, and it's something I absolutely love doing, and I feel it's honed my skills as a business coach and mentor, and doing the things I've been doing the last 35 years, it's great to help people.
Yeah, amazing. And you are also the member of a business networking group. Thank you for introducing me. I got lots of new friends, new colleagues. And there is a saying like, show me your 5 friends, I can show you your future. And so you want to have a network and you want to build a connection with like-minded people. So what's your thought on this one? Why this networking group? And you are a president of Armadale Chamber of Commerce as well. How that can help people to grow their business and have that mindset?
What I find myself frequently letting people know about networking is, if you go to a networking group expecting to sell something or trying to sell something, you will never sell. If you go to networking groups and try to build relationships, sales will flow.
Yeah.
I have seen this happen over and over and over again. It just seems to be the natural serendipity of things. You spoke about my like and joy for networking. I've always enjoyed networking. When I started my employment 2.5 years ago in Armadale, I didn't have much in the way of contacts in business people. So I made it my business to get out there and meet people at places like Business Station in Gosnells and the City of Gosnells big events and the events put on by the City of Armadale. And I also came across Superior Business Networks and I started going to Superior Business Networks bi-monthly networking breakfasts. And just like Victor Kayam, who tried out the Remington shaver about 40 years ago. He liked the shaver so much he bought the company. Well, just recently I've liked the business networking with Superior Business Networks that I've become a licensee. So just started with Superior Business Networks having a bi-monthly breakfast in Armadale as a licensee.
If you are not happy with yourself and you don't have peace on your family, then you won't be success. So if you are not successful, then you can't help the community to grow. That's, I believe.
Oh, so many things that you've said spring to mind as you say that. I mean, Abraham Lincoln said, I think about 170 years ago, that you can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all of the people all of the time.
Wow.
And, it's very true. And you've got to decide on those things that you want to do well.
Yeah.
And, it involves choices. There's 365 days in a year, 366 in a leap year.
Yeah.
There's 7 days in a week, 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
60 minutes in an hour, and you've got to decide where to put your focus.
Right. Amazing. How do you manage your personal life, and how do you handle those mentorship program, and how do you handle all those time blocks and management?
It's challenging. Diary's critical, and so I try to book in appointments with people, that start on the hour and that finish around the 45 to 50 minute mark, so that I've got time to wrap up and close off the things that I'm doing and prepare for the next time we meet, and to prepare for the next person or group that I'm meeting with. That's within a professional day. I endeavour to look ahead at the end of every day to what I'm doing the next day, and I endeavour to look ahead at the end of every week to what I'm doing the next week. Time management is not something that comes hugely naturally to me. It's a work in progress.
I'm still struggling to switch my mindset from the business and working hours to the family side. Let's say if I'm on a holiday, I'm taking a day off, still those works mindset is running and I'm on the phone and so on. I really want to improve on that one. So do you have any suggestion for me and for our audience how to switch that?
Easier said than done. However, look, I love to read, and I'm trying to think who wrote this, but when you're on the job, be on the job. When you're with family, be with family. Don't try to do the other thing, because look, as men, we're not multitaskers, and even for women who are fabled to be better at multitasking, the research is suggesting that people who concentrate on one task at a time get more done.
Yeah, amazing.
So that's look, we're all works in progress. I I'd love to say I'm expert in this. Maybe that day will come, but as for now, I'm a work in progress, and I'm working on that very thing you're talking about.
Oh, okay, amazing. It's not just me, it's everyone.
It's not just you.
Yeah.
Not just you. Look, I think, so long as you're aware of a challenge that you've got, you don't have to make big wholesale changes. It's better if you make incremental change. Be a little bit better every day.
If we get something spoon-fed, we won't value that. But if you create that for yourself, then you value that. So, it's really important to give our children the freedom and guide them, so what they really want to achieve on their life, rather than you have to do this, or I really want you to be that person. So what's your thought on this one?
Well, my thoughts is I want us to take care of his material well-being. I want for Eve and I to give him the right framework for doing good, and the right framework for growing his own spiritual well-being. And if he does that, I'm sure he's going to find his own goals in life, and I'm sure he'll do well. Look, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink.
Right. Yeah.
And I hope to be a good example.
What's your advice for people who wants to start their business, as you are helping lots of business to thrive and start from the very ground level? So what's your advice for people who wants to get into the business?
The first bit of advice is not to assume that you've finished your learning.
Wow.
Yep. I naturally enough, 35 years ago, when I I'm trying to think how long ago. I left school almost 40 years ago.
Wow.
I still feel like I'm 17, but I'm not. My grey hair and my poor eyesight, my knees tell me I'm not 17 anymore. And you finish your degree and you think, I've arrived. You've never really arrived. And learning needs to be lifelong. If you ever get to thinking that you know it all, if you ever be a know-it-all, you're actually demonstrating how little you know. Think about how the world has changed in the last, just think about how it's changed in the last 120 years. When my grandmother was born in 1906 in Perth, there was not a paved road, there was not an electric light in the street, most houses did not have phones, and in that time, it changed so that most houses did have phones, and then along came mobile phones, and now everyone's got mobile phones. We didn't have computers 60, 70 years ago. Now we carry one round in our pocket for the most part. So, and just in the last couple of days, the world of AI has been turned on its head by the introduction of the Chinese AI DeepSeek. The only constant we have is change, and so my advice is constantly read, constantly embrace new information that is coming. Watch, learn, position yourself, look for opportunities and take those opportunities, and be a lifelong learner. Continue to learn.
There are so many government schemes and government fund and education and course, and there's lots of business coach and mentors as well. How the young startup entrepreneur can have access to those funds, and they can get a mentorship from you as well?
Okay, so look, I'm perhaps not as well informed about all the other government programs as the one that I've been working in, which is called Self-Employment Assistance, which is a Commonwealth-funded program which is available to people to. It does a variety of things. people can get a little health check on their business, so they can get a 1 hour session and get some pointers on a barometer of where their business might be. That's a once-off thing. They can get small business training, which is they do micro business skill set, which consists of 2 units of investigate a business idea and prepare a business plan. And the idea behind enrolling in that business plan is to actually investigate a business idea and write the business plan with a view to entering the next stage of self-employment assistance, which is 12 months of coaching and mentoring.
Wow.
And the final thing, there's further health checks that are available. The main part of that process I'm involved in is helping people to prepare a business plan and do a cash flow budget together, which demonstrates to the satisfaction of me and the managers in the business that I work for, to recommend that plan to the Department of Employment and Work Relations, and if that plan is approved, they then get 12 months of mentoring.
Wow.
And that's over the course of that 12 months, there'll be an initial appointment, which is face-to-face, to discuss the business plan and financial tables that have just been prepared, and set up some tactics to help them achieve the strategies that they've put in place.
Right.
And then to have 6 mentoring sessions over the course of the year to track progress and set new goals. And the beauty of that program is that it's helped about 100,000 people to since 1985 to enter new businesses or to grow their marginally viable businesses into viable businesses. Without a scheme like that, a person's got roughly a 30% chance of still being in business at the end of their first year. However, with a coaching and mentoring program, such as self-employment assistance, they've got a 75 to 80% chance of still being in business at the end of the first year. So it dramatically increases their likelihood of success. I can give you a number of reasons why that's the case. Firstly, when people look at starting a business, they think, I'm a good X practitioner. For example, I know you're a real estate agent, right, Suraj? So you might think, I've been really good at individually selling real estate. I've been really good at getting listings, and I've been really good at converting or telling people about properties that I've got listed, and then getting them to complete an offer and acceptance. And that might make you think, wow, I'd be really good at being a principal. I'll get together an office and I'll do that. So you may be right and you may be wrong, because quite often people are really good practitioners. That doesn't mean they'll be really good at the business. Because a business usually involves working with other people and managing their goals and expectations, and so on and so on. People are really good at one aspect of the business, but what they're not good at, and usually those things are the things that they're coming to see us for, and they're the very things that we provide the help with, which is to help write a marketing plan, and to come up to find out what the legal and regulatory requirements of the business are, and also to work out what, if any, specialist assistance that they might need to run the business. To come up with an operational plan that works around the target market and the legal and management requirements. Most people don't ever think about a risk plan. My father, who was successful as a farmer, starting with leasing his first property, he always said to me about running a business, you've got to think about the what ifs. And that's really what a risk management plan is. You need to not just hope that nothing will go wrong, you've got to assume that things will go wrong and have what Army people talk about is an actions-on plan. So, and I've seen this happen a bunch of times when people have prepared plans. They'll say, "Oh, I will develop a plan for something if X goes wrong," and I find myself saying that's a plan to make a plan. I don't need your plan to make a plan. I need you to tell me what you're going to do if that goes wrong.
Right.
The point is, things will go wrong, and you've got to have a plan in place for specific things that will go wrong. And that's part of the reason why you go from that 30% chance of success to 75 to 80% success is because you're already resilient in your mind. You know, when that thing goes wrong, you just get on with it and you make it happen. Whereas the person who doesn't have a plan, they're all and you know they'll lose focus and they'll lose determination. So that risk management plan is hugely successful. And the thing that ties all of that together is a cash flow budget.
Right.
And this was something that my father taught to me at age 16.
Wow.
You know, as a young farmer, he was struggling in business until he got himself a coach and mentor. He called him a farm advisor.
Wow.
Well, that's what they were called in his particular situation. And he taught him how to do a cash flow budget.
Wow.
And the cash flow budget enumerates the value of all the business decisions that you make.
Right.
Now, it is one thing to write the budget.
Yep.
The key is reviewing your cash book every single month, because if you do it at the 12-month mark, the effect of each of your individual decisions has been lost. You do it at the end of each month, you can see, oh, I'm spending too much on X, Y, and Z. Oh, I thought I was going to receive money at this point. Because I haven't received this money, this is going to affect my budget 6 months down the track. Oh, I need to sell more of A, B, and C. In business, the end in mind is your customer. So start with their wants, needs first. I'll elaborate more on that later if you like. And build your business around their wants and needs. Look at your legislative and legal framework to support that. Look at your operations plan to support that. Look at your risk management plan, your what ifs, because things will go wrong. And then write your financial plan. Now, your financial plan has to reflect properly the dollar values at different times of the year, because you can write a cash flow on any regular set of periods. You could write it daily if you wanted to, but the most effectively is, for most people, it's going to be monthly. You've got 12 periods in the year, and you operate for a month, you review your finances. What all of this does is, A, it makes you have a coherent plan. B, ties it all together, enumerates exactly where you think you're going to be. Now, a plan at best is a crystal ball gaze exercise. But you come back and you review what's happened, you can make adjustments. And your brain's in a nice sharp place, you know what's going on. So many times I have found with mentoring individuals, large groups of individuals, is the people who follow this particular advice, they know what's going on, and they make good adjusting decisions, and they go on and they succeed in their business. Other of my mentees, initially, they may not follow that particular advice, and when you want to talk with them about what's worked and what hasn't worked, they're in a bit of a haze about it. And I'm happy to say that most people, after a few months, they go, a light bulb goes off, and they go, oh, this is valuable. And it starts to work for them. And when it starts to work, when that light bulb goes off and they start being, they start implementing that, things really start to take off. So these are some of the reasons why. These are some of the reasons why being coached and mentored are really important.
Let's say if I want the mentorship, I'm into the business, but I want to go on next level. I want to start my own business. So will I get that access to that mentorship and that program, or I need to be qualified or eligible to get that support?
Okay, so you can always come to me for coaching and mentoring in my personal capacity. My only real requirements as a coach and mentor in the personal capacity is, are you willing to commit the time and effort and to pay the bill, because there will be a bill,
Right.
and my personal capacity to assist you. So long as we've got those four things, I can coach and mentor anyone. Now, in relation to the Self-Employment Assistance Program, it's a federally funded program, so there are eligibility criteria. You have to be at least 15, so you can be in high school and access the training. You have to be over 18 to access the coaching and mentoring part of it. So that's the age requirement. You have to be an Australian citizen, a New Zealand citizen, permanent resident, or the holder of certain other visas. There's a very wide range of eligibility. The overwhelming majority of people who come to me are Australians, but there is access for other people. You talked about people coming from your own migrant community. Certainly not a problem. You know, if it's one of those other visas, we just get them to do a Vivo check.
Right.
All right. It is also an absolute requirement that you can't be bankrupt. So if you have been bankrupt, you just have to have been discharged from bankruptcy. Okay, so that's on the people side of it. Now, on the business side of it, it either has to be a brand new business or it can be an existing micro business with up to 4 employees that is at risk of not operating viably. Now, there's a lot of businesses that can fall into that category. So when we talk to a business, we're trying to help as many people and businesses as possible. So in that particular instance, we will look for and find the justification where we can to assist people to get into the program. Typically speaking, we'll be looking to get a copy of their last financial quarters, profit and loss statement, or more truthfully, their cash flow statement. Because if there's a particular threshold that we look at, if they're inside that threshold for the last 3 months, you know, like for example, if they were to go and apply for JobSeeker and they would probably get it, then we can probably say, at the moment, this business is not viable. But then we help the person write a business plan and financial tables, as we've been talking about earlier, that covers off on the marketing, the legal and management, operations plan, risk management, and a budget, a 2-year cash flow budget. If we can demonstrate with that they're a viable business, we get them to collect a series of documents as well.
Right.
You know, the main thing is a person will have to have $5 million of public liability insurance. If they've got all of those things, if the business is legal and capable of withstanding public scrutiny, if it has an independent business structure, and the person is going to maintain control over the business for the duration of their mentoring, then that sounds like a lot of things, but it's you know, it's more simple than it sounds. Then that person is a good candidate, or you know, they satisfied the criteria. There are other practical considerations to consider for them, like if they've got a reasonable level of English literacy and numeracy, so that they can use a computer to write their business plan and the spreadsheet. They need to have a decent internet connection at home, because there are a couple of 4-hour classes
Right. Yeah.
that are conducted online. It's good for them to have a laptop.
Right.
In my professional capacity at job, there's a number of computer refurbishers who will help people who are on Job Seeker or other programs to get a computer for $100.
Wow.
Yep. It doesn't mean that they'll be the latest and greatest computer, but it can help someone who's not quite in that situation. So that's the eligibility to participate in the program. There is a currently suspended requirement, so people don't have to satisfy this requirement at the moment, that people are not allowed to be involved in other employment or study for more than 25 hours a week. So what that means now is pretty much anyone can do this program if they meet all the other requirements. Additional to that, if a person is on a government payment such as Job Seeker or parenting payment, if they enter into the mentoring agreement, they'll be able to transfer onto the self-employment assistance payment.
Right.
A lot of the people who come to me to do the program, a lot but not all, are people who are on Job Seeker program. Now, on the Job Seeker program, if you're receiving the Job Seeker payment, every fortnight you have to declare to Centrelink how much money that you've earned from any source, be it external employment or self-employment, and for every $100 that you declare in income, they'll reduce your payment by $30. Wow. Which means, as well as you paying tax on that income, you're also getting that government benefit withdrawn. So so for every $100 was 30 cents in the dollar from tax on average, plus 30 cents in the dollar from loss of benefit. You're taking one step forward and you're taking more than half a step backwards. Wow. So it's not exactly encouraging people. Now, if that person completes the small business training and enters into self-employment assistance program, instead of having to declare their income every 2 weeks, they've got a quarterly report that they need to compile. And for every dollar that they make from their business, they can keep every cent of their allowance. They're also allowed to earn some external income up to twice the level of their allowance over the course of the 3 months. So prior to doing this job with the same company, I was a mainstream employment consultant. So I was helping people get jobs. I was helping them write their resumes. I was contacting employers. I was helping them get training to improve their prospects to get employment. And so 90% of the people who work in employment services have only ever been employees. And it's their job to help people get into employment. And so because their minds, no criticism, this is not intended as a criticism of my colleagues in the employment services industry. Their mindset is employment means working for someone else. So when someone comes to them and they may be trying to make money out of a small business but not making enough to get it off, most employment consultants are going to say, well, you need to get a job. The reality is if that client is serious about the business, what they need is help with their business. As you know from being in business, your efforts, your results from your efforts are not linear, right? So if you put in a bunch of marketing today, it doesn't mean that you're going to get sales this month and profit this month. It means that if you're consistent about it, in 2 months' time or 3 months' time or 4 months' time, you might get a hefty increase in income, by which time, as you were referring to earlier, you might not have the prospects and you might have a slump in sales a little bit later on. So the self-employment assistance program is a good place for employment consultants to say to someone, hey, you've got a business, rather than rather than you taking one step forward or two steps forward each fortnight and half a step back because of this, and instead of us, every fortnight or every month that we meet, you saying, go for a job interview, let's get you to talk to someone who's actually been in business, because most of the people in my role either have been in business or have a business and have that understanding and mindset of people in business.
Right.
And so they'll, the people who come to the program, they're now talking with like-minded people. They're no longer a round peg in a square hole.
Right.
They're a round peg in a round hole.
Right, yeah.
In the 1980s, the width of the Tax Act was about 10 centimetres. Now, in 2024, if you were to pile all the different acts, print out the different acts of Parliament that relate to taxation side by side, if you stood up, you would probably find that would be as tall as you.
Wow.
So the tax, you would have found out that the laws relating to tax are not simple. There's so much complexity. So many, many years ago, a person could reasonably confidently do their own personal tax, and they could reasonably confidently do the tax for their own business. Now, today, if you don't have a professional tax agent, an accountant who specialises in tax, you're absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And you as you plan your business, you want to be having discussions with your accountant a couple of times a year, not 3 months after the end of the financial year, but early in the financial year and late in the financial year, so that you're planning not just, well, look, you don't plan your whole business around tax, but you because you want to be building the biggest pie you can, aligned with your other goals. But once you've got those things in place, you want to talk with your tax agent to reduce that tax take. I mean, Australia is quite a high taxing country. I mean, we're a country that's got a lot of social services and so forth.
Yeah.
However, we're currently at a point where we're more highly taxed than we've been in some time, and that it's going to risk stifling business investment. People like yourself who want to start a business say, well, hey, same amount of effort, I can work for someone else. As a country, that's something we probably want to look at.
Right. Yeah.
Is, perhaps if we could reduce the complexity of that legislation, because, hey, we managed to live without all that complexity for the first 70, 80, 90 years of the Commonwealth of Australia. Why have we needed it the last 40 years? Yeah. And if we want to continue to be a first world country with continue to be in the close to the top 10 per capita incomes in the world, perhaps that's something we need to have a look at. That's the job of governments and political parties. And hey, in the next few months we've got a federal election coming up, so who knows? Hopefully that enters the national discussion. I think there's in communities there's two competing and complementary forces. There's the force of individualism and there's the force of collectivism, and we need both. I'm more strongly an individualist than a collectivist. I grew up in a household where we received a copy of the Reader's Digest every month. Back then it was a wonderful publication, and when I was about 18 or 19, I was reading this article about community service, and it was talking about the rates of community service across Australia. Now, I grew up in rural Western Australia, and this article said that the highest rate of community involvement, by region, was rural Western Australia. where community involvement was about 80-85% from memory, these figures, and the lowest figure was inner city Sydney. And I thought, wow, how can that be? Because I could only see things from the, my perspective of having grown up in that community. I talked a little bit about my father's involvement in local politics, and my mother helping to set up the Pingelly Scout group and being a Cub and Scout leader for 20 years. And it wasn't just my parents, it was everyone in that community.
Right.
And the reason why rural communities are like that is because you can't just go down the street and pick 3 different cafes you're going to have dinner at.
Right.
Or take, for example, where we met for the Southern District's Rotary Club, the Gosnells Golf Club. You don't have this huge infrastructure because of the force of numbers that we have here in the city.
Right.
Country people are like that because, because they want to be, but also because if they don't do it for themselves, if they don't create their own community infrastructure, they won't have those networks to help each other out.
We talked a bit of off the record as well, and now it's already been 1.5 an hour. I find really valuable, and our audience is finding really helpful, and we definitely need to have another conversation and another chat as well, because there's a lot to learn from you and from your business network to there's self-employment supporting system as well. There's a lot our audience and myself can learn from you. Thank you so much for your time and effort, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for listening to me go on. I'd like you to return the favour, let me interview you, because for a radio show.
Sure, thank you so much, and we'll put your lots of description and where they can contact you and to access that self-employment mentorship program as well on our show description. And thank you so much. Keep supporting us.